Alright, so part 2. First thing we're going to do is determine how total you want this to be, like a radius of your actual fidget spinner. So from the center out to the farthest point. Yours originally was about 40 millimeters, and in class I recommended 45 to be an average, and anything larger than that could be too large for your hand. So I'm going to shoot for 45, and then when we print it out, if we need to modify this and make it smaller, we can. So I'm going to go for 45. So what I'm going to do now is model this ring, and then we're going to see what we can do here. So we already got something going on. Got all of this, and I have a center point that I can snap to later. So I'm going to model all of this off to the side. Just going to make it less confusing. So let's go ahead and do a circle. So if we want the diameter to be 40, or no, the radius is 45, so good. We'll just click here and make something 45. So that's the farthest out point. So now we want something in the middle. Sometimes it's hard to find the center. There we go, we found the center. So we want the inside to be thick enough to be able to write some words on it and have it be legible. So let's say, actually first let's just see what that's going to look like over here. I don't want to cut off all of the ends of the chopsticks, so let's see how far it looks good. If I went to there, it would be 40. So let's do 40 and see what happens. It doesn't give us a lot of space to write here, so I may want to go a little bit smaller. Let's try 38. That's better. So your words might be a little bit smaller. Let's see what that gives us. Doesn't give us much space in between, but I'm going to measure real quick just to see. It should be 7 millimeters. That's quite a bit of space to draw on. So let's hope that's good. So again, this is a disk, so there's nothing in the middle. So I'm going to go ahead and select that and then press delete on the keyboard. And if you want this to be the equal thickness of the rest of it, that was 7 millimeters. So go ahead and push pull this up. Type 7, enter. And I'm going to make this a component to make sure that this stays a solid. So I'm going to select these surfaces, make it a component, and make sure that it's a solid component. Right now I'm going to just reference what you got going over here. So you want to draw some stuff on here on the surface, which is fine, you can do that. Some of these I just want to make sure, let me just do Japan. That's the easiest one for me to draw, I think. So if you want to, we could just, let's just make our square again. See if I can find the center. There's a center. And go straight up and We don't have a midpoint, so let's try right here. This just gives us a reference where our words should be. And then I'm going to go ahead and just model this same thing over here somewhere. So I had 45, and then I had 30. Can't find the center. There we go. So 38. That looks right. So now I can start drawing in this barrier. I'm going to try to make it equally spaced, but it's going to be kind of freehand as well. I'm going to make sure that you're always on face. It's going to want to try to snap to the axis points. So if you don't want it to be on the axis points, you kind of zoom in and click where you want it to be. So I'm just going to make a J. Alright, so as long as it's a closed shape, it can be extruded. So this is its own shape. It's all the way enclosed. So it has to have it can't just be a line, it has to be an enclosed shape. So if I have something like this, so even though that looks like a J, I can't extrude this, or I can't push-pull a line. It has to be a shape, like an enclosed shape with area. So as long as it's an enclosed shape, I can select it, and then I can use a push-pull tool to push-pull it up and out. So this is just one letter. If I had multiple, I could select each one and push-pull them up to the same height. So once you get your letter, you can move it on to your thingy. So you want to make your letter a solid. So once you have everything push-pulled out, the easiest thing to do is get rid of everything else. I'm just going to get rid of all of this stuff. Select it, make it a component, make sure, so this says component, which means it's missing a surface, and I can bet which one it is. It's this one underneath. So if you are ever missing a surface, it's easy to get one back by just drawing a line from one endpoint to the other. That didn't work, because it was diagonal, see? So I want it just from here to here. Did that work? Oh, it usually brings the surface back. So you could trace it. The other thing you can do to avoid this, let me just go back to before I deleted everything. And before I push-pulled it. There we go. Hopefully this will make sense. trying to figure out where I am in space. There we go. Oh, there we go. Alright, so here is a little tip. If you select a surface and then you go to push-pull it, what it's actually doing is grabbing that surface and moving it up, and it's creating a void underneath. So I'll show you that by orbiting underneath. So it kind of cuts out the bottom surface. So what you want to do actually is copy that surface up. That's one of the options here. So pick face to push or pull, control equals toggle create new starting surface. So I want to leave the starting surface in place and then move a duplicate surface up, creating a solid, or what looks like a solid. So I'm going to click the control, you get that little plus symbol, and then I'm going to click here and move up, and now you can see if you orbit that the surface is still there. The original surface stayed there. So now I'll go ahead and delete everything again. And then select everything that makes this letter, and then make a component. So now I have a solid component. And then I can move this into place just kind of by eyeballing it. If you have a whole word, then obviously you can move all of them together. But I'm going to try to move this in place just by clicking somewhere towards the center at the bottom. I'm going to pick this spot right here. I'm going to place it here. So there's one letter. And in this example, it is a raised letter. So eventually I would have all my letters in place. And then what I would do is, this is a solid component, and this is a solid component. So I would combine these two by using this solid editing outer shell. Select this component and then combine it with the other one. So now this is all one solid group. Then once you have all your letters in place, you would then move this over here. So I think I have a center that I can find somewhere. Let's go ahead and move. Should be a center somewhere. There was center. And then snap it there. Alright, so these freehand letters are going to be probably the hardest part if you're going to draw each one individually. That's just a lot of drawing. So if you want to use the easy method, which is the other tool that I talked about in class, there should be a tool, I think it's on the shape tool, yep. 3D text. So you enter your text here. The font's type, I don't know if there's a way to change it to be more unique. So there's just only one type of font. But you could type whatever you want here. And you want to make sure that this is relative to what you're creating. So 304 millimeter height is too much. You want like a 7 millimeter, actually probably 5 millimeter. So let's do 5. And text extrusion, let's just have it be 1 millimeter. So now I have my word here, and this is where I could place it strategically somewhere. So this works here. Let's go ahead and place it on here. And then obviously I need to rotate it to be in place. So I'm going to use the rotate tool. Grab it from one of the corners. And rotate it 90 degrees. And then I can use the move tool again. This time I'm going to strategically grab it somewhere towards the center. Let's say right here. And then place it on here somewhere. So when you place these words, they're actually, it's a solid component, so it's already its own solid, so it does a lot of work for you. So if you wanted to separate the letters and make each one an individual solid, that would be fine. Then you could place each one kind of in a circular pattern, or you could do it like this. And the last step you would want to do is combine everything together into one solid. So I'm going to click on this and then go to the outer shell option, combine it with this word. I'm going to combine it with this, that, that. So far so good. Got 2 more chopsticks. So this is all a solid group. Now this would print and it would be your fidget spinner. Actually, there's a couple things in here that we need to clean up. So once you're done with this, up to this point, I'm just going to move it away so we can see what we're left with here. So you have these little things on the inside that are going to cause a problem. So I need to use another circle to cut these away. So I'm going to click on here, see if I can find the center point. If not, I might need to draw a line. There's one, there's a center. So the inside should be 11.5. Then I'm going to extrude this using push-pull, and then push-pull it up 7. Now I need to select these in order to make a solid. It's very hard to select because it's inside another shape. So I'm going to just temporarily move this out of the way. I'm going to grab it and make sure I know which axis I'm moving it along. So I'm on the green axis. I'm going to move it over, let's say 80. So now I can select this, make sure it's a component by right click and make a component. Now that's a solid. Now I'm going to move this back. So I moved it 80 one direction, I'm going to move it back 80, 80, enter. And then I'm going to use another solid editing, but this time I'm going to subtract. So this one is subtract. And you want to select the item you want to subtract first, and then the item you want to subtract from. So I'm cutting it out of this one, so I'm going to click that one second. And there you go. Remove the little ends of the chopsticks. So now this would be a finished project ready to be printed.